I want to start with a specific nightmare that I think almost every new college instructor has.
Oh, I think I know this one.
You walk into the classroom, you teach your heart out, and then you go home to this literal mountain of papers. You just feel like you have to grade every single thing a student touches or it doesn't count.
It's the fastest way to burn out. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
But the material we're looking at today, it's from Steve Chase's instructional skills workshop. It really challenges that whole idea.
That's so.
The core argument is actually, pretty liberating. Assessment and grading are not the same thing. They're not synonyms.
Okay, so that's the headline for today's deep dive. We're getting into the architecture of assessment.
Right. Specifically, the difference between what's called formative and summative assessment and this really key concept of alignment.
Because apparently most of us are kind of getting it wrong.
We are, and usually because we just mix up the timeline. Chase defines formative assessment as basically everything that happens along the way.
Okay, along the way.
It's low stakes, it can be messy. It's really just there to inform the learner and, the teacher about what's working right now.
So it's like a flute, like a scrimmage in sports.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You don't put the scrimmage score on the permanent record.
No way.
You stop play, you fix the form, you run the drill again. That's all formative. Summative assessment. That's the game itself. It has finality. It's, judgment day.
Okay, but here's where the source really hit me. Chase has this golden rule. He says if the very first time a student gets personal feedback from you, it has a high-stakes grade attached to it. You've failed the assessment process.
Oof. It sounds harsh, but he's absolutely right. Think about the anxiety that creates. If I'm learning a new skill and I know my first clumsy attempt is going to tank my GPA,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about learning. I'm thinking about survival.
So students need a kind of safe zone to practice before the judge walks in?
They absolutely do. But the tricky part, and the source has a great little diagram for this, is that the tools themselves aren't inherently one or the other. There's this massive gray area.
He shows it as a Venn diagram, right? Where the circles overlap.
Exactly. So the same tool can be both. It just depends on your intent.
Okay, give me an example.
Take a portfolio. Let's say in an auto shop class, a student snaps photos of themselves, checking the oil or changing a tire throughout the semester.
Okay, so if they're just doing that to ask, hey, is my hand placement right in this photo?
That's formative, 0 grade, purely feedback. But if at the end of the term, they submit that same collection of photos to prove, look, I have mastered these 10 skills.
Now it's evident.
Now it's summative. It's an artifact of competence. Same photos, totally different states.
Same photos, different timing.
And different timing. And, this even applies to something like a post-assessment. We hear that and we immediately think final exam.
Right. Big, scary, standardized test.
But if you just do a quick check-in at the end of class, like a simple survey to see if the lecture actually landed, that's a post-assessment. But it's completely formative. You aren't grading it. You're just taking the pulse of the room.
Which I think brings us to the second big pillar here, alignment. I feel like this is where the wheels really fall off for a lot of courses.
It is the most common error, especially for new instructors. We teach one thing, but we end up assessing something totally different. Chase uses the learning outcome model, and he focuses on the B for behavior.
And the B is the verb, right?
It is always the verb. When you write a learning outcome, you're making a promise to the student. By the end of this, you will be able to do X.
Let's use the source's example. Students will be able to repair a toaster.
Okay, so if that's the promise, but your assessment is a multiple-choice quiz on the history of heating elements.
I've broken the promise. I'm testing their memory, not their ability to actually repair anything.
You're out of alignment. And students feel that disconnect immediately. They feel tricked. If the verb implies an action, the assessment have to measure that action. You have to look at your test and ask, does this actually prove they can do the verb?
It sounds so obvious when you say it, but it's just so easy to default to a quiz because it's easier to grade than watching 50 students fix a toaster.
It's efficient, sure, but it isn't effective. And that brings us right back to the start. The whole reason we default to those easy-to-grade quizzes is because we think we have to grade everything.
So the big liberating takeaway is stop grading the practice.
Stop grading the practice. Use that formative time for what it's for. Feedback. Save the grade for when they're actually ready to show you they've mastered the skill.
Now, the source mentions there are specific tricks for doing these quick, ungraded checks. What are they, CCATs?
Classroom assessment techniques. Yeah, they are fantastic little tools, but they definitely deserve a deep dive all their own.
Okay, so we'll put a pin in that for next time. For now, though, I want to leave you with a challenge based on this workshop. Look at your syllabus for next week.
Find just one assignment where you're grading a student's first real attempt at something new.
And then ask yourself, are you measuring their learning or are you just measuring their anxiety?
Something to chew on. Thanks for listening.